So much throughout education, we are only focused on the intellectual concepts that come out of literature, and we ignore the aesthetic experience that can happen. Millions of years of evolution have not been leading to this moment. They've been leading to moving and singing and getting our blood flowing. And what Literacy Unbound does is it takes those modalities and uses them to bring literature to life in a visceral way.
Literacy Unbound initially came out of an impulse to figure out how we could help teachers and students grapple with difficult texts. In my own classroom, I had a lot of trouble inviting students to read. And my background is in theater, so I started seeing how engaged my students were in my theater company, and I wondered how I could bring that into my classroom in more purposeful ways.
The Literacy Unbound Summer Institute is a 10 or 11-day experience where we take 12 teachers from all over the world and 12 high school students, our company of players as we call them, and then we come together to form an original piece of performance art based on a novel. And this year we're reading Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad.
Heart of Darkness is a notoriously challenging text, not only content-wise, but in terms of form. And that does guide our selection. We try to select texts that are difficult not only for students, but for teachers. We want to choose a text that teachers say, I don't know how to teach. I don't know how to teach this.
The Congo River is the spine of our country.
I am a high school English teacher. I'm having this difficulty reaching my students. I think students now more than ever are resistant to almost anything that, I as a teacher kind of put in front of them, especially a novel.
There are very few students who don't already possess some sort of affinity towards some mode of expression. Whether it's visual, musical, or embodied arts, most kids come to the classroom having some capacity for expression, which is untapped in the English classroom. The teachers can begin to say, oh, you know what, this student has a potential that I haven't been tapping into, and this is the potential that's going to get them engaged and get them understanding.
What if this, I did my first one. You have two sides here, and then for my motion, he comes forward, and I go like this, and I close it for the elusiveness.
Well, this is actually our first year in this space, which is a brand new space here at the college. So while we are in a really fantastic position to take advantage of this space, everything that's going on in here is really just an exploration of good teaching. Ultimately, what we're trying to model are techniques that, once you strip away all of the tech and get down to it, it's about a student and a text and some original expression of how they understand that text.
This is really about changing the way we think as educators, and it's really about repositioning ourselves in the classroom. And I think in terms of reading literature, it's really powerful for both students and teachers to see one another struggle with a text. They see one another not only as players, but as readers, and now as writers.
I was thinking the other day, I kind of forgot. I know who the students are and who the teachers are in the players group, but maybe the second or third day that totally fell away. And I wasn't thinking in my brain, this is a student I'm working with or this is a teacher. That's a really great experience that I don't normally have.
It's kind of a 2-week process, and in the first week we bring in a series of teaching artists to help the players work with the idea of remix, that is, say, layering different text and techniques on top of each other to create new meaning, and help the players generate the content for our performance.
One of the big skills that they're bringing in is reading through the body and how our bodies can create meaning. One of the big shifts for me in the years of Literacy Unbound has been starting to think about how meaning is not something that we find in a text, meaning is something that we make. And we can make meaning through our bodies. And sometimes our bodies know things about a text or will reveal something about a text that we don't know intellectually.
And it's not first and foremost right out there, but when you start to look at what's involved in the creation of these pieces of art, in the conversations that are happening during the creation of this art, then you start to realize, oh, the extent to which critical thinking is happening.
We're housed here at Teachers College, and this program is an initiative of my office, which is the Center for Professional Education of Teachers. In addition to creating this piece of art, there's another layer to the program, which is every morning we sit down with just the teacher players and we talk through the instructional choices that we made. We make our thinking visible to the teachers.
Okay, you viscerally experienced that. Now let's step back and let's sort of reflect and intellectualize. How would you bring that into your classroom step by step? What are the scaffolds you would use? To what extent are you comfortable using this? And just getting them to understand what's within their capabilities to bring into a classroom.
In the creative process that we're using right now, they're taking creative risks, especially some people who have never done acting before or dance.
This is completely out of my comfort zone, something I've never done before. I sympathize with my students, you know. I'm like, wow, like this is how it feels when I give them something and maybe they're not sure how to approach it.
We had this warm-up where we were all one physical piece of a big machine, and I do feel like that piece in that machine, but it feels good. It feels like I do have ownership of what we're doing, but I also feel like I owe it to those other people to do my piece.
That makes my heart sing, that idea of the fact that we've created an environment and we've created an opportunity for people to have this creative expression. When I have a chance where someone can come over and say, is this okay, or can I, or I kind of want to. Anytime I get a chance to say, yes, do that, what can I do to help you? That's literally Unbound.
We're going to talk through a sequence of events, your phase 1 scenes.
We have about 3 days of creation and rehearsal before we bring in an audience and kind of show them what we made. It's a lot of rapid prototyping, it's a lot of first drafts, and it's all very exciting.
What I always say to the players is that something is going to happen. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but at 7 p.m. something will happen.
Welcome to Conrad's world. The Nelly swung to her anchor without a flutter of the sails. A flood had made, and being bound down the river, the only thing for it was to come and wait for the turn of the tide.
What we created was an immersive theatrical experience that specifically took place in 4 different parts. We called them phases.
The audience is going to come in and move around so that it becomes this experience.
The scenes were running on a loop, so they might see a scene multiple times if they wanted to.
Down.
There were 2 different phases in the Congo River, and then we moved out to our 4th phase, which was the funeral for Kurtz, which became a funeral for many things.
When you wrote Things Fall Apart, they said your characters were no more than symbols representing a way of life lost irrevocably within living memory.
I think overall the performance was our attempt to inspire conversation about Heart of Darkness.
I felt like after the first day, I could go to any one of these beautiful people here and just say, hey, I have an idea. Do you think that with your audio skills or your movement skills or your theater skills that you could help me create this and help me make this?
And every year we've done a talk back. I think it's for the audience to start to understand the process, because what they're seeing is a product. But the second purpose is for the players to have an opportunity to start to articulate what they've experienced. We do a lot of reflection after the performance, but that talkback is really the first time when we're asking them to put into words what they have experienced over the past 9 days.
I'm going to be, returning to my high school in Queens with so many new tools under my belt. The students here definitely were like my teachers, in a sense, because they helped me, really come out of my shell a lot more and kind of reassured me that, you know what, it may not be perfect, but it's going to be okay.
I mean, we want not only students, but we want teachers to feel that they are artists and that they are creators. And when someone says that they feel that way, I think that's the biggest triumph for us.